Welcome to everyone. So I'm super excited to start this conversation. For the 18 months, families are confronting, the challenges of, to bring up the education of their children. The immigrants and everyone, are they're having a lot of challenge with to keep up with the education. So we we're having this initiative, Padres Con Voz, parents with a voice. How can we um, in, find an equity in education? So the objective of this program is the build and how can we get an advantage of the cultural, how can we help our parents to get the resources for the education for our students. So we have our panelists, mothers, and they are a part of the Padres Con Voz. So Sonia Ramirez is one of the mothers of three girls. One is in 7th grade and 12th grade. And I have the honor of presenting Jenny Rendon, is the mother of two boys in 2nd grade and 3rd grade. Hola, hello, and thank you so much for the invitation. So we are gonna start with the questions. The first question, what they were the challengers to navigate in the schools during the pandemic? And we're gonna start with Sonia. Hello, my name is Sonia Ramirez, and like Jenny said, I'm coming representing a few parents of parents with boys. ¿Cómo usar la tecnología? How to use the technology? It was very hard. They started with the classes over the internet, how to learn, how to check homework, how to know if they were connecting right. And another things for me that it was to balance the classes at home and also to leave them alone because I needed to go to work. For me, that was a challenge, a very hard challenge, because at the same time I wanted to be with them, but also, like we all know, we have to work. So it was the decision, it was very, very difficult because we all want to support our children, but also we need to work. So that was my challenge, the difficult challenge to leave them alone and then go to work. Yeah, hello, good afternoon. My challenge, maybe it was for many, maybe it was to take the decision to let them go to a school in person. That was a very difficult decision because the school that they use is public school and it's the charter school, and they don't have the option like the public schools. So it was a challenge to take the decision because I was not confident to send them, and I'm still worried because they were exposed to COVID and we were in quarantine. So for me, it's been stressful, a challenge. And the same time, I think taking the decision for them to come back, it was good because the social part and the psychology part. But we are mothers and we are teachers, and we are not the both, so we are not training for that. So the two examples that you gave, so many of the parents pass through these decisions if we need to go to work, or if they have to stay at home or go in person. So the next question is, what are the resources that you needed more in this year? For me, the most difficult was to look the resource for emotional help. So we took the decision to go to work and learning how to use the technology. So in the emotional part. And then we have a schedule at home. So, when they're going to school, the schedule, but the freedom at home, it was different. So when the technology is not working, when you cannot connect, all the little details, they look insignificant, but they were, it was a little bit of everything, the stress. I think the more help that I needed, it was the emotional help. And also it was very difficult how to give the homeworks, how to give them out. Because it's different, the grade 7 to the grade 12. So the difference is being they are more advanced. So the part of, like I said, to know that they are okay. So that affect me a little bit because I went to work. It's like they are staying at home and they needed to learn how to connect. So in certain moment, my the older my older daughter, she was like the teacher, and she got the role of the teacher. So la conexión with the teachers, we needed a lot of help and the emotional. So and also how they will give out information if we needed more help. So la pregunta es si estaban apoyando las escuelas, pero un poco at the beginning it was complicated with the counselors. At the beginning it was difficult. So how can I talk to the counselor or the teacher? How can I tell them what is going on at my house? So it was difficult to talk about it, what was going on at home. And yeah, but they gave me the support.
Fortunately, I had the help of the family team in Spanish, and they helped me. So I'd like to say, yes, it was hard at the beginning, but I did have the help that I needed. Jenny, the same question. Well, for me, it was communication with teachers because when the kids were in person, it's always very hard to contact teachers. I know because of their job, they are focusing on the kids' learning, but sometimes as parents, we want to make sure that the kids are doing fine. And even though the kids say they are doing fine, we always have that doubt, right? So now with the pandemic has been more complicated because learning these applications to be able to communicate before they were using reminders, they had to change it because it wasn't helping parents. So what did your school do to support you during that time and the app tools and all that? Well, I think they realized that many parents were calling. So as it was a lot of work for the secretary, so the school decided to use this application talking points. So an advantage for this was that talking points translate from any language into English. So when we speak Spanish, the teacher speak English. If I sent a message in Spanish, she received it in English. And if she sent it in English, I would receive it in Spanish. So they had to use this tool to be able to communicate with us, especially for us to communicate with teachers mainly. Do you feel that your kids' schools, I can't say the word, tend understand the biculturalism our kids have, and what are the biggest barriers your kids have in class? Any of you can answer. Well, my kids' school understands it. I think that one of the reasons is because half of the school is African American and the other half is Hispanic. So in that way, I do feel well because they hired more bilingual staff and they are Latinos. They are people from Dominican Republic, Mexico, or their parents were born there and they speak both languages. And the barrier for me was that for the other kids to understand that the fact that my kid is Latino and that he speaks a little bit of Spanish doesn't mean that my kid speaks it perfectly. Sometimes they have that idea that you speak Spanish, you understand it perfectly, and it's not that way. You understand it, but it's very hard to speak Spanish, or they understand it, but they don't read it well, or they can read it, but they are not fluent, for example. So that's something that other people need to understand. That's interesting because in my case, my family is from Puerto Rico and I was born in Germany. We moved from state to state to state. I grew up going to Puerto Rico every summer, speaking Spanish at home. But the fact is, they didn't teach me how to read or write in Spanish. And most of the times I was speaking in English. And even today, I have a 4-year-old daughter and I want her to be bilingual. And it's very difficult. We went to Puerto Rico just a few months ago. She understands everything, but sometimes one word, for example, I said it wrongly. And we are doing this code switching in our minds, and people don't understand that we're thinking in English but speaking in Spanish, or thinking in Spanish but speaking in English. And we all get confused. And the same happens with kids. The kids are learning how to do that, how to move from one language to the other. And many times they don't understand. And Sonia, I think they do understand, but there's a change taking place slowly. Some schools, some have enough staff. I'm not just saying about Latin teachers in particular, but as we see with the pandemic, there's not enough teachers actually. So if the school is short of teachers, having more Latino teachers is also difficult. So on one hand, they do understand, but the school where my daughter goes in 7th grade, I like it. I like that school because they understand. They're hiring Spanish-speaking staff. There's more Spanish-speaking teachers. My daughter that goes to 12th grade, in that school, they're also hiring Spanish-speaking staff, but they don't have enough teachers, actually, not necessarily Latino teachers. So they understand it, but it's very hard for them actually to attain this. That's why they do understand it, or they don't really, I don't know. Sorry, got nervous. So there's still this barrier that Latino students don't have the motivation and don't have the support to take advanced classes. So that is one of the barriers I have seen in my daughters, not only in them, but also in other Latino students, just because we don't see many Latino teachers. They don't have that admiration, that support of one Latino teacher. Okay, that person can be a perfectionist. It's not bad to speak Spanish. We still have those barriers. There's still a long way to go. Yeah. I know that the question was specifically about your children, but I want to add another question and ask you, as moms, how do you feel about the school understanding you as moms navigating the education system here and your needs also, right? Well, I could say that one of the barriers is technology. Some people understand that many of us did not go to school, and even if we have gone to school, our computing skills are not at par with what the kids are doing. So if it was difficult before to help kids with their homework before, now as years go by, math, for example, has new techniques, new ways to solve it. So if it's hard to help them to do their homework, now helping them doing through a computer, and as Sonia said, trying to find a way how to turn that homework in virtually, that's kind of a lot for me. Sonia, can you repeat the question, please? So navigating the educational system, what has been one of the barriers for you as a mom, not just for your kids, as a mom? Language, the language. I think that has been the main barrier, language. As I said, not all teachers speak Spanish. Not all teachers are Latinos. So they send all the information in English. And as I said before, as Jenny said, if we're just trying to learn how to use email and we are not used to checking email all the time, every day, that really makes it difficult sometimes. And this question is for both of you. And I see there are questions in the comments. We're going to ask them now because these questions are very good. What goals would you like your kids to meet? What goals, what objectives? Well, for me and for many parents, what we always want for our kids is for them to be professionals and to speak Spanish as well, for them to go to college, to have a professional career, and for them to be whatever they want to be. But I think education is important. And that's what I want my daughters, even if they go to college or whatever they want to study, but I want them to study. That's my main objective. To increase those statistics that we say we have more professional Latinos, more doctors. So to leave those shadows where the Hispanic community is kind of in the shadows right now. So for our kids to go to college. I share Sonia's opinion, and I would also like our kids to feel comfortable and proud of being Latinos and speaking both languages. For many kids, sometimes it's not that they feel ashamed, but sometimes they are shy about the fact that they have to accept that they are Latinos and they can speak both languages. So that's what I'd like for them to achieve, right? And I agree with Sonia, for them to go to college and either have a professional career, have it so that they can be independent and really to hold very high the name of Latinos. So on that point, what are some of the things that schools, teachers, assistants, teams, school teams, what can they do to promote bilingualism and for kids not to feel ashamed? Because being a result of North Carolina schools, it has happened to me. I did not speak Spanish at school. I spoke Spanish only at home. I did not want to speak Spanish in front of everybody. So what is something schools can do for kids to feel prouder of what they are and where they are from? I think there's some schools that are creating clubs or giving students that freedom to participate. If they see that is the student who's not participating, they reach out to the student. Sometimes it's different. We are all a community, but at the same time, they want to know as parents what we need. But at the same time, I think that those who need to be listened to really are students. They are who are in the schools, they know what's going on there, they can come home and tell us this happened or that happened. But as parents, we never know if they are telling you what they're really feeling. So I not only I'm going to create this group or see what student will come, but try to listen to them. And when we listen to them, they will know. As Jenny said, sometimes they have misinformation because of the fact that they speak Spanish or they hear they speak Spanish, they think everybody's from Mexico. And that intimidates kids again, and they don't want to speak Spanish. Not only having those programs, but also to listen to students, reach out to students so they come to the program, not wait for the student to go, but to go and get the student and to reach out to the student and let them come to this group.
For me, my opinion is that they offer Spanish classes because a few schools offer Spanish classes. It's very complicated to belong to a magnet school. So we have to pay the Spanish classes. So that will be not good. But it's like in the schools, they offer more the Spanish classes. So both of you are leaders in the community. Why did you enjoy the Padres Con Voz Parents with Voice? Because we would like to share with other parents and see, to share what is going on inside the public schools. For me, getting involved with parents with voice is helping me to preparing me. What are my rights as a parent? What are my rights to ask for help? What I need, not for me, for my children. But most of it is to lose that to be scared. How can I ask this email translator in Spanish, or why should I say that my daughter is not doing well in her classes? How can I tell them that we need help? So this organization, this get together, is giving me like rights as a father and losing, letting go to be scared and, and passing our voice to others, and knowing that as a parents we have responsibilities to be with with them and advocate for them, and that is what is helping me, Padres Con Voz, parents with voice. But for me, the being part of Padres Con Voz is just because I was curious about what was going on with other parents, and like we are in the same storm. So I wanted to know that if something that was happening to me, it was happening to our other parents, and you know that I can help others. That what is happening to me, I can help others, and I'm getting a lot of knowledge, learning from others, and always to to learn to use the resources to help my children. We are in a country that is a second home, and even that with the passing of the years, we cannot feel like a home yet, and with the pandemic, is more complicated. And for us that we are Latin, is a extra work because of the language and also the computer. We are not we don't have the training for the computer. That also be a question about the ways how the public schools can support. So how can we navigate the system? What are the advices that we can get? And I'm gonna read the questions that we have here, and also if the people that are viewing us, if you can put questions here too. So what the public schools or the schools can, how the schools can affirm our culture. Um, I think through the events of the Hispanic heritage, that's a way to present our culture. Like once a year, so to invite leaders, Hispanic leaders, and they can be mentors for our children. So they can be motivated, you know. So we also can recognize that there are more other Hispanic leaders and can motivate us to be too. Another opportunity will be get together, like during like a Latin night. So we are not only one country, we are from different countries, Puerto Rican, Venezuelan. I went a long time ago to one of the schools that help us a little bit to get together. So it was called like Night with Parents. We wrote some plays and listening to the different families, and you start to build trust so that we can be a community and support each other. So it's like giving out that space in the schools for us, that the feeling that they are there to help us. And here is another question. So what do you think what the this education, the system is not doing for us? What I believe is more resources. I also say is that there is the resources because we are always limited, like the classes. Not everything is, we are not able to get everything that we need. Like we don't know how the school works. We don't know what is the kindness, how they choose the children. So it's barriers that our children don't get the information. So the beginning in there is where the problem starts, because we need more workshops, because they, the children let us know what is going on, but they don't tell us always what we need to do. So Sonia, would you like to add something else? So it's like we are talking about the system in the local level. Listen, there are not too many resources. We don't have enough teachers. The issues with the buses, we don't have enough staff. So we don't have enough drivers. So we don't know what is going on in the classrooms. So at the end, it's our children that they don't have enough support. So when it was everything online, the test, and if they didn't finish the test, so if the student is not in the level of the reading level that he's supposed to do, so how he's going to finish the test? So the educational system is not giving the support that we need. Thank you so much for parents to share your experience in this time of COVID. So my goal is that the parents will be more involved in the system. Hello, Sonia. Thank you for your message. So
The application was good, but I have technical problems. Sometimes we don't talk about it, about network, or the application is not working. And what happened is that I did not find out that school was canceled. So it was a bit difficult there. So that's where I would say the method would be to have someone who's in the office who speaks Spanish. And I'm saying this because with an aunt of mine, I had to be the interpreter, and it was a bit complicated. It's like saying, it's navigating this part where I am the interpreter, but she's also my aunt, and that's a bit complicated. So it would also be good and it would help to have someone who can answer the phone in Spanish. Sonia, would you like to add anything of other methods that are preferred to communicate in school? Right now, we are using WhatsApp group, and it's working quite well. It's working, actually. Sometimes we have a question that we need an answer at that moment, and each parent, the parent who knows, will answer. And as a bilingual assistant, that I would say Celeste, that at the beginning, she needs to be a little bit patient, because as parents, many of us are scared, afraid to say what we need to say. So I would suggest that at the beginning, she needs to be patient, but sometimes it's hard as assistants to connect to the families, to communicate with the families, because they are scared. Okay, to what extent can I share things with parents? To what extent the school gives me that permission? I think we still have this idea that even though we have help from bilingual assistants, there's still this thing of, I can help you, but the school is my boss. So I feel there's that barrier between assistants and families. We can help you, but there's not that trust and 100% trust of how to help. And thank you for mentioning trust. That is a very important word when we are creating a community within schools, within our programs. You have to create that confidence, a trust with the community you're working with. And the only way to that is to ask. One of the things that I have learned working as ISLA director is the importance of listening. Many times we want to have all the answers, we want to do, but the answers are in the community you are working with. And we are in this, that's one of the reasons we are in this conversation, having our moms who are speaking about the need of equality in school, of equity in school, so that we can empower our indigenous, Latinx, Latino children in school. There's another question. What advice would you give parents to be able to help kids with school? If we talk to other parents, what advice would you give in getting involved? In my opinion, it's getting involved as much as you can, attending this type of talks or conversations, be part of the school board, also taking advantage of the opportunities offered by community workshops or organizations who create workshops. As the more they are informed, the more they are involved, they will see that teachers and the school will realize that this parent is informed. This parent knows their rights. They know what's going on. So it's not that I can just disregard or deceive or not pay attention to this parent, because we know, if you, as you know what you have to do, nobody can tell you that you have no right, or they cannot do it. That's not something you deserve. Thank you for saying that. You can write letters in Spanish, you can write letters in any language, you can send messages, you can say, this is my right. That's a reality. We have rights in this system, that for every kid to receive the best education possible in our schools. There's a question in Zoom. If you noticed any change in the performance of children when they were having online classes. I didn't see any change in their performance. On the contrary, I think the grades went down. So virtual classes for my daughters, it was not the best solution. It did not help them. If when they were going to regular classes, there was still some type of transition. For example, my girl in 7th grade, when we started with the pandemic, she was leaving elementary school and starting middle school. So she didn't have that transition time. I leave 5th grade and I enter 6th grade when they start teaching them things step by step. That became difficult for her. It wasn't a good change. No, it wasn't. No, not for my daughters. Jenny? Yes, a change would be in grades mainly. What helped my kids was that the school was already giving them some classes, not online, but with the computer. But at the same time, I still saw that they felt frustrated because they didn't have anybody to ask. Once the class was over, there was no chance to ask a question. So I think that affected them quite a lot. But I can say, not a lot, but because they could go to the following, they could pass the grade, they could go to the following grade. But how do we know if they are performing as they should be performing, right? And also thinking about the conversation related to equity and going back to in-person school and being online and grades coming down. Have you felt there's support, like teaching them more, like as they were absent so much last year and kids perhaps don't understand much? Do you feel that schools, I can't find the word in English or in Spanish, but do you feel they are giving them the support so that they can keep going and learn some of the things that they did not learn or miss last year? I can say that my kids' school, the, unlike other schools, and there's also a disadvantage sometimes. Sometimes one school does one thing and others don't. My kids had the opportunity to go to summer school, but it was only for the kids who were in running a race, like at-risk kids. But again, I have always gotten involved when I saw that notification saying we will have summer classes, but they are limited and they are only for kids who need it the most. I'm one of the moms that said, if there's room, please sign them up. But Jenny, your kids are not doing well. Doesn't matter. I just want to make sure, just sign them up. I'm a mom that is always involved. So they called me and I said, doesn't matter. I will send them. For me, it was making sure that my kids are at the level they should be. My son was entering third grade. Third grade is when they start the EOG exams. So my son was nervous. Mom, I don't feel confident. I feel that I didn't learn everything that I had to learn. So I told him, don't worry, we'll do whatever is possible. And that helped me being involved and speaking out, saying that my kids needed it. Sonia? As Jenny said, we had the opportunity. Schools here also had summer classes only for kids who needed it, but parents who don't know, those kids are left out. So what happens with those kids who do not take those classes? So we could say yes and no, but for example, now for students that are in 12th grade and they have AP classes, things get difficult because before, if they had a 90-minute class, now that class is 40-minute class. So how to teach so much content in such a short time? So the students are not being supported. They have more homework, but they don't have enough time. So I feel it's not happening. That's what sometimes we don't think as educators, as teachers, as schools. We have these barriers of language, or parents have to work and cannot help with homework. They don't understand what the homework they have to do, and they have more homework to achieve that level because they missed things last year. And many times I think schools forget that there needs to be that understanding of diversity in our families, the different situations in our families. It's not just when the kid gets to school. It's the kid as a whole. We need to care of the kid as a whole, the house, the mom, the food, everything affects education and the kids' learning in our education system. Thank you very much, Sonia and Jenny. I don't know if you have a last minute comments to close this session, or if there are more comments from the public. Is there anything else you would like to say? Final comments. On my hand, as mom, I will ask other parents to talk about it, to speak out, to keep supporting our kids. We need to get involved. And as Jenny said, we need to attend these classes or go to the administrations, ISLA, LatinxEd. There is help. So as parents, we have that responsibility. It doesn't matter what situation we are going through. We need to have that conversation at home. That education is important, and we also need to find help. We need to reach out. We need to stop being scared or fearful. We need more parents to be involved. Sometimes in some schools have resources, but parents don't get involved. And other schools don't have resources, and it's the other way around. So I think it's a work that we all have to do. We all have to get involved and keep going so that we have more professional Latinos. Thank you for the opportunity. I'd just like to thank you for this space you gave us to share our experiences as parents and being those parents with a voice. As Sonia said, many of us don't dare to speak out and say things. We are intimidated, well, we are always scared. So I'd like to thank you for this opportunity for parents to feel motivated and to reach out and try to find these talks, these workshops, so that they can get more knowledge and they can support their kids. The best teachers for our kids are us, our parents. So if we don't motivate their education, if we see that we motivate them, they will also get motivated. Thank you so much. I know I'm supposed to say a few things, but in fact, I think what you have just said is the best. One of the things I'd like to say, though, is that teachers, educators, professors, if they are working with the community and if your school doesn't have the tools, you can also fight for your schools to have the resources and the tools for our students. Thank you very much, everyone, for the questions, for the conversation we had today. I hope today is only the beginning of how we can start having these conversations on equity and the impact we can have for improving this education system for our Latino kids. Now we will have the few comments, please. Welcome Ricky and Elaine to finish today. Thank you very much, Denise. And thank you, parents who joined us to have this conversation. I almost called Univision so we can get an idea for a new show. Advice with Jenny and Sonia, because it was amazing. Your words were amazing for our community. And I think many people, parents, students, teachers who are here in this program are taking notes of what you said. Not every day you are in the middle of this conversation, but it should be like this. Thank you very much for everything you do and for what you continue doing for our community. And Janice, before we finish this conversation, I don't want to get away. I want to tell people about ISLA and what type of work you're doing and what is the vision of your organization.
Muchas gracias, Ricky. Thank you, Ricky. I didn't have anything prepared, but our organization works through cultural programs, Spanish immersion, and we have different programs, starting with an organization with the Spanish program for Hispano speakers. We grow programs that not only that we not focus only in children, also in parents. We want to get more parents, involve them more. And one of the things that we think as a parents is that what children are saying, and we need to our parents and children know that this is a place where we can advocate, and that we have rights, and we have our culture, and we are in a country that we have rights. So ISLA is a space where we create like this justice through knowledge in the American culture. so, yeah, so that's what we have now. But in the future, we can progress in something else. So always our ideas come from our parents and our students. Maybe we'll see what happens in 2, 3, 5 years, and we really want to create community. Thank you so much, Jenny. What I have more hope in our community is that we have leadership like Jenny and Sonia. Thank you so much for everything you do and having this conversation with us.